tell us, Dane, when you're looking at ventures, right, you're looking at every angle, we're not just talking tech startups, right? You're talking about small businesses opened up by immigrants, right? You're looking at other types of manufacturing businesses. You're looking at all types here, right?
That's correct. This is a big tent approach to entrepreneurship that includes the types of businesses you just mentioned, but also those employing several people right off the bat in any sector. And as you mentioned, we saw the biggest increase in that index in 5 years and the largest annual increase in the 2 decades we've been doing the index.
Okay, so why are we still at such historic lows?
Well, entrepreneurship took a big plunge in the recession. So we have a big hole to climb out from. We're still climbing to historic levels. But this positive movement is certainly in line with other economic indicators where we've seen positive movement in the last couple of years. There's definitely increasing confidence. There's increasing availability of finance. But as you suggest, there are certainly concerns that we should take care to address and find ways to continue to renew entrepreneurial growth over the long term.
Jason, one stat from this that I thought was really kind of brought it all home is that, among adults, only 0.3% of them, 0.3% actually start a business. And it's hard to, anecdotally, you hear about the Ubers of the world and every 24-year-old out there starting the next Snapchat. But it's only 0.3% of all adults who actually start a company.
Well, it's hard. Having started 2 startups myself and had some success, it is hard, right? Obviously, we need to be the center of entrepreneurialism in the world. But even expecting that a couple % of adults would start businesses, I think, is expecting too much. We just want to see the trend grow. And importantly, we want to see the best entrepreneurs across the world continue to come to the U.S. to start and grow their companies.
Indeed, and of course that's a matter of big debate in Washington. Jason, what are you seeing through your lens, though? I mean, is it, while the Kauffman Foundation says we're still here at pretty low lows, are you seeing it highest ever in company creation where you are?
I am, and it's a weird thing, right? You have to contrast what's happening with the overall U.S. economy, right? Maybe even contracting last quarter, growing at 2% year over year, and compare that with NASDAQ, right? I mean, NASDAQ's on an incredible run, and tech startups are NASDAQ on steroids, right?
Right.
So you've seen the NASDAQ shoot up basically 3x from its post-Lehman lows. If it's gone up 3x, startup activity's gone up 10x, right? So it's very strange being in Sand Hill Road in San Francisco, where every single bright kid from MIT, Stanford, Harvard is rushing to do a startup, and yet the rest of the country is still struggling. And I think that's why we see this split between the 2 different types of startups and entrepreneurs.
It definitely does seem like a tale of 2 cities here when you talk about, when you talk about startup nation. So, Dane, how much does technology or technology companies, how much do they skew the numbers here in your study?
Well, as you and Jason both suggest, there's massive variation underneath these numbers. And, even rolling them all into an index is useful. It's also useful to take that index apart and to try to sort out different types of entrepreneurs, different types of companies. Tech startups, while they are only a small sliver of all companies started each year, have an outsized effect because they will be driving the front end of technology, and they also have a multiplier effect on other businesses. And that may also be one thing that's at work here, that we've seen this huge growth in tech startups that is now starting to filter and have an impact throughout the rest of the economy.
And Jason, just in the time that we have, I mean, another stat here from this index, from this study, is that the rate of new ventures by women is at a 2-decade low. So despite all the progress you hear, it's still a long way. What about in Silicon Valley and what's changing there?
Honestly, from the numbers, I feel like we've made no progress. When I started my first startup in 2002, my co-founder was female, our first engineer was female. It was incredibly diverse. I feel like board meetings and other meetings I go to today are actually less diverse. We'll run out of time today, but I don't think it's actually getting any better in the short term. But hopefully attitudes are changing.